vital to all living things, will unite us all as golden rings. I'm a link in the golden chain. Gratitude may we all attain. Bright and strong my link will grow, through pure and loving deeds I know. Pure and beautiful thoughts I will think, and pure and beautiful words I will say, and pure and beautiful deeds I will do for the world and for you. Spreading kindness and love every day to all living things that come our way. Amid us chain of love is bright. Through peace and love we will see the light.
So they're recognizing that some people aren't showing the same love and respect and equality as everybody else. But what's our golden chain piece? That we are all accepted under Meya's embraces, and we are the chain of love and compassion, right? So we need to remember the special set of Skittles with this message. So it's putting its rainbow aside in remembrance and respect of the people that deserve the same love as everybody else, right? We all deserve love. So we can look different, we can have different personalities, but we all have that same heart. We all think and feel and love, and we all have compassion, and we all have Buddha nature, right? So let's be those links in the golden chain, and let's love all people the way we love all candy, on the outside and the inside, right? Everybody is just as special and important in their own unique way. And now that you guys are good and sugared up, you can go back to Chelsea. Oh, okay, very good. Yeah, go ahead and good to go back there. We've got tons of projects for you. And we have snacks for you today, too. Non-sugar snacks. Okay. Go on. Go. Go back to Miss Chelsea. Go. There you go. Okay. Good job. Okay. Good job. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so yeah, welcome to the Dharma talk. We'll continue on with the golden chain instead of candy. I could go on forever on candy, but there's some things that I was really interested in learning about the golden chain. Like we've been doing the study group and we were working on Jusege, and it's just so funny because I wanted to go ahead and lean into Dharma a little bit, right? And with Dharma, there's correlations that we have with the point of the message today. So with the golden chain, does anybody know where the golden chain came from? Anybody? Well, there's some deliberation back and forth on where it is, but predominantly what I've heard is Hawaii. So back in the earlier 20th century, a lot of Japanese immigrants came from Japan, and they brought with them Shin Buddhism. So it first ended up and landed in our country in Hawaii. And if we look at 1915, there was a married couple, Ernest and Dorothy Hunt. So there's Mr. Ernest Hunt from England, and they came, but they brought, yes, Reverend Hunt. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I didn't know this. That is so cool. Okay, that is so cool. Yeah, the amount of Dharma school kids they had when they got involved too. So they brought over, what was it, Theravada Buddhism, a different kind of Buddhism, and they came to definitely sought the Shin Buddhism. They became that, and they were very involved with Dharma school, like Wayne says, and yeah, I think 13,000 or something like that at one time, that early on, for Dharma school kids. But when they found Shin Buddhism, yeah, they both husband and wife became Shin Buddhist ministers, and that was in 1924, so like 5 years later. And that was Hawaii Honganji. And it was told that they wrote the golden chain, more specifically his wife, Dorothy Hunt. They don't really have the golden chain in Hawaii. The closest they have is our pledge, written by our current monk, something more contemporary and relatable around the world. So why do we say the golden chain if it doesn't come from Japan? And we are usually, traditional and whatnot, and, our roots and traditions come from Japan with Shin Buddhism. Well, it represents a melding of Japan and the culture of America. It was an attempt to bring Buddhism to a predominantly Christian society, and it expresses a way of thinking, speaking, and acting that we want to encourage to its members. So this is something transformational that we require if we're going to survive in this country, and this was a beautiful way to do it. Like everything in Buddhism, we embrace all things, and it's an important place for everyone. So by creating this golden chain, I think it made it more approachable for all people to be able to relate to, not just the culture from Japan. And I think that's so important, this golden chain. So when I first came through these doors, one of the first things I heard was about the golden chain. And it definitely spoke volumes to me. But I'm going to go ahead and move forward to this picture. Does it recognize this picture? It is the memorial site of Pulse nightclub. So in Pride Month of 2016, before October over here in Las Vegas, this was our largest shooting. There were 49 victims, and it was a hate crime of LGBTQ. And when I walked through these doors, it was Mother's Day of that year, May. And the golden chain and the Dharma message and the welcomeness of the Sangha kept me coming back. And so I was searching for peace in my life, and Buddhism was giving that to me. But when this happened, because I am part of this community, on that day I knew I'd be Buddhist for life. Because it wasn't just about peace for myself. I needed that compassion and peace to pass on to my children and to fight back with all that suffering in the world in this kind of way that was causing it. I couldn't understand very much of it because I was freshly, a month into Buddhism, but I knew I'm set and settled for life. I'm Buddhist. So even though I knew that, I had a lack of understanding of the Dharma, so I never felt like I truly belonged in the Sangha. I didn't feel safe enough to share myself, right? So how did I come to get there that I actually knew I belonged? I'm going to leave the personal account out of it that I shared last year because there's so many points of Dharma there. I think that's more relevant this year. I cherry-picked some of that Dharma. Unfortunately, I'll have to lightly introduce them or cover them because each one is relevant enough to be its own Dharma talk. But yeah, I think these would be great and different from last year because it's Dharma, getting stronger, I got pulled away from here to Washington State for a couple years. And when I joined Seattle Betsuin Buddhist Temple, I thought about my experiences on this parallel journey between being Buddhist and LGBTQ, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So I asked the Rinban there, who's East Asia Japanese, if I could start an LGBTQ group because I was like, man, if I felt like that, what do our youth feel like? And it was really important to me. And what he told me, he was a really great teacher, is even though he couldn't fully understand the LGBTQ being East Asia and coming from Japan, he supported what I wanted to do and granted me the permission to start that group. And he said it was because of the 18th vow. I had no idea what the 18th vow was. So if we take a look here, if when I attain Buddha, sentient beings in the lands and directions who sincerely and joyfully entrust themselves to me, desire to be born in my and call my name even 10 times, should not be born, might not attain perfect enlightenment. Excluded, however, are those who commit the 5 gravest offenses and abuse the right Dharma. That last little sentence, that's pretty much like the add-on of, okay, if you mess up with the true Buddhism, then that's what those 5 grave offenses are, pretty much. It boils down to you don't mess with that, you don't mess with the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, right? But the vow itself has like the strong meaning, and I'm still learning more and more layers to it as time goes by and attending different groups. So what does the vow mean exactly? So here's one that I gathered about Amitabha's 18th vow, which they call the causal vow, the fundamental vow, the primal vow, the king of vows. It says it's the original source, the fundamental body. I mean, there's so much. The lifeline of the Pure Land school, well, Pure Land teaching is what we have. The 18th vow is the original intent. Shakyamuni Buddha's original intent saves us, transcends our lives, and that saves all of us. So it's the vow of worldly transcendence made by Amitabha Buddha, the king of, and the noblest, the vow of great kindness and compassion that sets us free from suffering and gives us joy. What that means is all sentient beings, every single one, without distinction, are accepted. If they should not be born in my land, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. That's the primal vow, the vow of compassion, and the one where we all can find our place, where we all belong. This is a loaded one, and I would like to request from Bish eventually to have a study session on it when the summer's over. But it's a very important vow in regards to finding acceptance in Shin Buddhism. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, my slow-growing group in Seattle shut down, screeching halt. I had to figure out virtual. And I go online, and it's like wildfire. So I'm finding all these groups, not at Shin Buddhist, but then I found Gardena Buddhist Church, and this is a group there called Ichimi. It was created in 2019 by Reverend Amy Umezu and Reverend John Iwahara. And they have a pledge. It's, we pledge our best Jodo Shinshu Buddhists to provide a safe space for LGBTQ plus identifying people within the Sangha, their family members, and allies, in order to create conditions for everyone to safely hear the Nembutsu teaching. This was incredible. I've spent hours and hours talking to Amy, Reverend Amy, about how she got this group up and going. I've attended a lecture where she gave like the grassroots and how they got it started and the hurdles that they had, and just, wow, just so many LGBTQ identifying Shin Buddhists started coming out after that started going on. And now it's like all over the place. It's great. I've got tons of names of people, lists and lists. So it's like very refreshing to find community within community, and that interdependence and intersecting is going on. So Ichimi, it's a term found in Shinran Shonin Nembutsuge, which they chant daily over there except for Sunday. And that passage reads, Bonjo Gyakuho Saien Yu, Nyoshu Shin Yu Kai Ichimi, which translates to, when ignorant and wise, even grave offenders and slanders of the Dharma, all alike, turn about and enter Shinjin. They are like waters that, on entering the ocean, become one in taste with it. So the meaning of this passage is that all beings, both foolish and saintly and virtuous, once encountering and hearing Amida Buddha's name, Namo Butsu, all of the same flavor or essence. In other words, under Amida Buddha, we are all of the same essence and value. So Shinran's words, they are like water that on entering the ocean become one in taste with it. So you can see in this picture, there's all these different kinds of rivers. You know, you've got really, really big ones, wide open. You've got some curvy ones winding that make me think of Kawane no Nagare no Yoni. And you've got the long, skinny, straight ones. But they all go to the same place. And they all lead to the ocean. That's like, in the end, we are all part of this one combinator that unites us all, and we call that the world of compassion. Now I've got my own personal example. Everybody knows I like to talk through food. So if you take a look, miso soup, okay? I love making miso soup. Anybody who's been in my house knows I like that. So I always have these three main components. They have to be there, right? You've got to use miso paste. You've got to use wakame. Well, you don't have to use wakame, but to me, you've got your three staples, your baseline. If you don't have that, you don't have miso shiru, right? And then it gets squirrely, you know, in winter time I'll add kabocha. Or, you know, sometimes we can put little clams in there, change the broth up. Sometimes I add daikon, you know. It just depends, but it always has those same three foundations that I need. And in a way, you can look at that like the three treasures, right? The Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. And what I rely on the Buddha, I rely on the Dharma, I rely on the Sangha. So those are what we can rely on in life. It's what you in the Buddha Dharma as a Sangha. And this base is what we can rely on as foundation in our lives. There's someone I listen to a lot on a podcast, Reverend Takashi Miyagi. And he's got this representation. And that is the idea of oneness, which connects all people. We all have the same baseline. We're all the same components that make us sentient beings, even though we all have the defining components that individualize who we are. And yet things kind of cause separation. We lose sight of that. There are thoughts of, according to Reverend Takashi Miyagi, there are thoughts of discrimination within our own hearts. We have to look within ourselves in order to make those changes. There's the conditioning of the self that I is somehow special and better than others. And so what we do is create division. We're conditioned to categorize things in relation to us. What is right and wrong? What is good and bad? And this is all according to our whims and conveniences. This is what we call Bonbu in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. This is like our ego attachments, our ignorance. And so, again, I learned this from Reverend Miyagi, and the podcast is called No Doubt, A Shin Buddhist Approach. I think I only mentioned it once in a study group. He talks about life with a lowercase L and with a capital L. So life with that lowercase L is each of our own individual lives. You know, we go about and we do the things that we like. And then there's the greater one. When we awaken to the greater reality that connects all sentient beings, we tap into great life, or life with a capital L. Little life and big life are connected in one. Together, they create this path into our greater reality, this great life. Our own lives are necessary in order to come to an understanding of this great life. So it's kind of the yin and yang, much like there's no light and darkness or enlightenment and awakening without ignorance. It's not just about me and my own little individual life. It's about understanding the greater reality that connects all lives together. And the self becomes the greatest hurdle in understanding this reality. In order to better understand humanity, you have to overcome your own humanness. Then how do you do that? You have to overcome your own limitations as a self. This is prompted by the Buddha Dharma. And how is with self-reflection. And that self-reflection has to be prompted by the Buddha's call. So next I have a short message from the late Thich Nhat Hanh, and it helps better express in a more modern way how simple it is to just be accepting, to live and let live, and to be accepting of ourselves as well.
Die Teilnehmer der Sangha question, what makes a man, what makes a woman, apart from the physical differences. Is it important to know the difference in a loving relationship? And in case you've got children, what do you teach your child? When it's a girl or when it's a boy? Vor über 1,5 Jahren haben mein Mann und ich einen Berater gehabt, kurz nachdem wir geheiratet haben, der uns gesagt hat, er wäre kein Mann und ich wäre keine Frau und wir müssten erstmal Mann und Frau werden, und hat uns sozusagen in so eine Art Trainingscamp geschickt, wo wir das lernen sollten. Und mein Mann hat versucht, sich zu jemandem zu entwickeln, der er nicht war, und ich habe das Gleiche versucht, und wir haben uns beide verloren in der Zeit und wussten dann gar nicht mehr, wie man als Mann sein soll, wie man als Frau sein soll, wie man in einer Beziehung miteinander umgeht als Mann und Frau. Und das hat uns in sehr, sehr große Schwierigkeiten gebracht. Und deswegen stelle ich mir seitdem jetzt die Frage, was macht ein Mann zu einem Mann, was macht eine Frau zu einer Frau? Ist es wichtig, das zu wissen? Und ist es wichtig, das für eine glückliche Beziehung zu wissen? Und wenn man Kinder hat, was bringt man seinem Kind bei, wenn es ein Mädchen ist oder wenn es ein Junge ist?
Be beautiful, be yourself.
Sei schön, sei du selbst.
We have to accept what we are. Lotus is beautiful as a lotus. She doesn't have to become a rose in order to be beautiful.
Wir müssen das akzeptieren, was wir sind. Eine Lotusblume ist schön als Lotusblume und sie muss nicht zu einer Rose werden, um schön zu sein.
To be a gay or a lesbian is equally beautiful.
Und schwul oder lesbisch zu sein, ist genauso gleich schön.
And we should not be caught by words and notions.
Und wir sollten nicht in Worten oder Vorstellungen gefangen sein.
Everything that we see manifests the wonder of God, of the ultimate reality.
Und alles, was wir sind, ist eine Manifestation von Gott, von der ultimativen Wirklichkeit.
And we have to deal with everyone, everything with the most, the best kind of respect.
Wir müssen jeder Sache und jedem Menschen mit dem größtmöglichen Respekt begegnen.
People say that I am a man, but I am not sure.
Die Leute sagen, ich sei ein Mann, aber ich bin mir da nicht so sicher.
Because I behave very often like a mother.
Weil ich mich sehr oft wie eine Mutter verhalte.
My disciples see in me a father, a teacher, and a mother at the same time.
Und meine Schüler, die sehen in mir einen Vater, einen Lehrer und eine Mutter und alles gleichzeitig.
And I enjoy being a mother.
Und ich genieße es, eine Mutter zu sein.
So let us not be caught by words and concepts.
Lasst uns also nicht in Worten und Vorstellungen gefangen sein.
In Buddhism we have the word suchness. It means reality as it is. You cannot use any concept or any word in order to describe it.
Im Buddhismus, da haben wir den Begriff des So-Seins. Und man kann keine Worte oder Vorstellungen benutzen, um das zu beschreiben.
So we should not be listen to those people who that kind of advise and lose our joy and happiness.
Deswegen sollten wir solchen Leuten kein Gehör schenken, die uns unsere Freude und unser Glücklichsein damit rauben.
Dear time, dear Sangha, I'll ask first in English and then in German. Ich werde erst auf Englisch fragen und dann auf Deutsch.
Thank you. So there's so many finite details that can create division, but I think he says everything just so beautifully, like how it's relevant. How it's relevant to living the Buddhist life, the Buddhist nature. So, does anybody recognize this place? This is in good old Las Vegas. It's over close to downtown, and it's called Center. It is the LGBTQ Community Center for Las Vegas. They got a lot of great resources there, a lot of programs. I brought some things, so afterwards, if anybody's interested that wants to learn a little bit more, and they're actually working on a production of Rent right now too. They've been working for at least the past 6 weeks. So this last Wednesday, I just completed a 6-week course there called Pivot for youth and their families to know how to better communicate and support with their youth when they're part of the LGBTQ. And there's so many terminologies and things that change because making progress, it's a lot to keep up with. So the program is really beneficial, especially to support our kids that are discovering themselves. Another thing that I learned through that course is that 40% of our homeless youth in Las Vegas are LGBTQ youth. And that across the country, the LGBTQ youth are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than their peers. So these kind of things is why it's really important to have places like the center. And starting next week, they're going to offer free counseling for LGBTQ youth. It's called Thrive. There was recently a kid they outed themselves to their family at age 12, and they just drove up at the center, just left them there. So this is where my compassion is. And my wish is that someday in the near future, we can make ourselves known to the center and create a bridge, right? If once I needed peace and I found it through Shin Buddhism, many of our LGBTQ community and family are very likely able to as well. And I know many of them also need that peace. So for us to be able to do that, I keep thinking I have that mic. I have a lot of work to do. We need to make sure that we don't just present ourselves as accepting, because we know we are, but we need them to know. We actually see them and acknowledge them as well, right? They need to know we're a safe space. So that's just going to be education I'm going to try to help facilitate over time. You know, it's a lot. We want to be a welcoming and safe space, and we should be for all. And when we're finally able to do that, we're going to be living in embodiment of that golden chain with an extra link, right? And that's going to be a very magical day where we at once will finally be able to make that rainbow connection. So from this queer identifying Buddhist to the rest of you, I say happy Pride. Can I please have, thank you. Can everyone please in Gasho? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Namo.